Okay, as promised, we finished doing the video on one-step equations. Now we're going to get on to two-step equations. Like I said, it sounds like a dance step. In this case, it's math. And you know what? It's almost as fun as dancing once you get used to it. Okay? And if you don't like dancing, you'll still like this. Okay. Sounds like I'm about to feed you broccoli or something. Okay, here we go. So, we're given a question, 4x minus 9 is equal to 15. In the last video, all we had to do is get rid of the 9, and then we'd have x all by itself. Well, this is two steps. So we're going to get rid of that 9 first of all, but then the last step, we're going to divide both sides by 4 to come up with what x is. Let's do this a little slower just to show you. Okay, so we want to get rid of the 9. We want to bring it to the other side. Well, in math, when you have an equal sign, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. It's like a teeter-totter, as I said in the last video, okay? If you add 9 on one side, you better add 9 on the other side, or it will not be equal, okay? So let's do that. Let's add 9, which is the opposite. Negative 9 and positive 9 are opposites, right? If you do that, they cancel. And on this side, we're going to be left with 4x. Because we added 9 here, we have to add 9 over here. 15 plus 9 is what? 24. Don't forget, we still have 4x sitting here. When you do these questions, try to keep the equal sign lined up. Make it nice and neat. Let your teacher be happy with, trying to mark this stuff. Okay? It makes it so much easier. Okay, the last step here, just like in the last video, and if you don't know what to do, you should really watch the one-step equations video first. To get rid of the 4, we need to do the opposite of what we see here. It's 4 times x. The opposite of times, or multiply, is divide. So you divide this side by 4, 4 divided by 4 being 1, and divide this side by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So the 1 is invisible here, just so you remember that. X is equal to 6. That is our answer. We are done. You could verify if you wanted to. You could put the 6 where you see the 4 here, and go 4 times 6, that's 24. 24 minus 9 is 15. Hey, this has to be the right answer. Okay, well, let's quickly move on to the next question. Move this over. Okay, bring in the next one. Here we go. 35 equals negative 2x minus 15. We want this all by itself, so we're going to have to get rid of everything else. So before you do this last step here with, dividing by negative 2 like we're doing on other questions, first get rid of the negative 15 here. It makes it easier, okay? So get rid of this first. What's the opposite of minus 15? Plus 15. So that's going to cancel. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Okay? 35 plus 15 is 45, 50. So write down what you have left. Don't forget the equal sign lined up nicely here. We've got negative 2x. How do you get rid of negative 2x is equal to 50? How do you get rid of the negative 2? The opposite of negative 2 times x is to divide both sides by negative 2. Divide by whatever is in front of this x. It's called the coefficient, but don't worry about that. It's just a big word. So divide by negative 2. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is going to cancel. It's just going to be 1. So on this side, 50 divided by negative 2. Whoops. 50 divided by negative 2 is going to equal negative 25. Don't forget, a positive divided by a negative will give you a negative. Okay? 25 is our answer, and x is equal to negative 25. That is the answer. Okay. I'm going to keep going quickly here so I don't waste your time. I'm going to move this over here, and let's bring the next guy over. Sounds like an assembly line. We have 36 minus x is equal to negative 36. Well, here's the x over here. Don't forget, this negative sign stays with the x until we take care of it at the end. But we do need to get rid of this 36 right here. The opposite of plus 36, and remember it is a positive 36, is minus 36. Subtract that, you get nothing, you get 0. So we're left with negative 6 is equal to, well, negative 36, don't forget Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Put these together. You're going to get negative 36 minus 36. You can do it on your calculator if you don't know in your head. It's negative 72. Okay? And then the final step is we got to figure out what x is equal to, not negative x. Remember before I talked about an invisible 1 being right here? Well, it's just like the same questions that we've done before. It's negative 1 times x. How do we get rid of this negative 1 times x? Well, we need to divide both sides by negative 1. I hate to say it, but sometimes we have to I use the word divorce to try and help people know what's going on. So divorce and divide both start with d. We need to split these two apart. So you divide by negative 1 here, you do the same thing to the other side, and you're left with x equals, because this is going to cancel here just to 1, negative 72 divided by negative 1. Whenever you divide by negative 1, all that does is change the sign. A negative divided by a negative, you get a positive. The answer is 72. Good old 72. Okay. We're almost done. We've got 2 more questions. Okay. So here we have 3t divided by 5 is equal to 9. Okay, the first step in doing this, remember this is a lot like the questions we did on the one-step questions. We have 3t, and to get rid of the 5 on the bottom, well, it's 3t divided by 5. What's the opposite of divide? That's right, it's times. So to times by 5, you're timesing the numerator by 5. But instead of doing all that work, you can just say, well, 5 divided by 5, that just cancels, and that was our goal, is to get rid of this 5, right? So we did what was best. We multiplied by 5. Multiply this side by 5 as well. So you're left with 3t is equal to 9 times 5 is 45. The last step here is we're going to divide both sides by 3. So that we're left with t equals 45 divided by 3. Should be 15. Okay? I did that quite quickly. I guess I have no choice. This is supposed to be a quick video, so I can't go into great detail. So I'm going to just go to the last question, which is right over here. Come on up, or come on down, depending if you're Bob Barker. Here we go. Okay. Once again, we have x divided by 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. Okay, folks, it is easiest if you do it this way. Get rid of this guy first, and then take care of that 5 down below. Okay? So get rid of any plus or minus that you could get rid of first, and then do the multiplying or dividing. We'll deal with that in a second. Let's get rid of this negative 1. The opposite of negative 1 is plus 1. So do it to both sides. What are we left with? Well, we get x over 5. These two cancel. X over 5 is equal to 5. How do you get rid of this 5 down here? We want x all by itself. Same as before, same as the one-step questions that you've watched earlier. To get rid of the 5 on the bottom, we need to multiply. Instead of this is x divided by 5, the opposite is multiply. Multiply by what you see on the bottom there. Those will cancel. Do the same thing on this side. Multiply by 5. You're left with x equals 25. And folks, that's the end of this video. There's some quick ways to do this. I know it's not great, deep explanation, but I just wanted to get this across. Okay? So I'm going to push stop here. Goodbye.